Good evening, good evening, good evening, my brothers and sisters. How are you doing this beautiful evening? Your brother Tony is in the house. Come on in, come on in. It is dinner time, so I hope that you are ready for this good feast that we're going to have this evening. If this is your first time at the dinner table, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Tony M. Toomer, and I speak on relationships. My position when it comes to a relationship, when you look at the pattern in the book of Genesis, God created everything. And God is the creator, author, and pattern maker of a relationship. If you notice, God created the man Adam first. Secondly, he created Eve, but before he created Eve, he had a unique relationship with Adam. Now, going back to the second part, God had a unique relationship with Eve because Adam was asleep. Thirdly, God repositioned or brought the woman back to the man Adam, and in the presence of God, the man Adam is quoted as saying, "Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, I should call a woman because she came from man." That's the position I come from the book of Genesis. God the man, God the woman, God the man and the woman as a unit. God is the foundation of relationship. Now, if you have another position on a relationship, I still encourage you to set the dinner table and get some of this good food for the soul. Okay. I don't want to tell you need to leave, but I was just letting you be well aware where I come from when it comes to a relationship. I'm on two different platforms. I'm on the book and I'm on the tube this evening. Those of you that are on the book, I may call out some people on uh, YouTube. And I may call their names and comment, but you probably can't see them. And those of you that are on the tube, I may talk to someone on the Facebook. You may not see their names and comment, but I call it out their names and comments, okay? And I want you all to feel free where you can make a comment or ask a question at the dinner table. It's family time, okay? So I just want you to be comfortable and you're at the dinner table. So it's open. Just be very respectful. How you doing, Sister Lynn here? Welcome to the dinner table. Now we're about to look at the menu. And when we look at the menu for tonight, when we look at how you doing, Sister Tammy, welcome to the dinner table. On the menu for tonight, a couple should be accountable and responsible for each other when. Take note now. Look at the top of the menu. A couple should be accountable and responsible to each other when. Now, what type of relationship should a man and a woman be in before he or she is accountable and responsible for each other? This is what we're discussing at the dinner table. But before we get deeper into it, let's see what the word accountable means. When we look in the dictionary, the word accountable is clearly defined as responsible for and having to explain your actions. Whereas the word responsible is defined as having an obligation to do something or have control over or care for someone as part of one's job or duty. Now, a couple should be accountable and responsible for each other. Now, what do we mean by a couple? As you know, I stated earlier, my position when it comes to a relationship. How you doing, Sister Sharita? Welcome to the dinner table. When you go to the book of Genesis, God started off the relationship between him and a man first. But as you notice, God also said it is not good for man to be alone. I will make for him a helpmeet. And the Bible also clearly states that the man was not created for the woman, but the woman was created for the man. That's what the Bible say, not what Tony said. This is what the Bible say. But going back to the first part of it, God said that it's not good for man to be alone. Even though man had a relationship with the Lord on a spiritual sense, God seen another need for the man. God created the woman as the last piece of the puzzle in creation. Before the woman came onto the scene, everything was put in place. The woman, the original intent of a woman, when we look at Eve, Eve was the cherry on top of God's creation. She was the last created being or thing God created. And then he rested on the seventh day. So God's original intent is for him, the man, him, the woman, and the man and the woman to worship God together. Now, how you doing, our brother Faulkner? Welcome to the dinner table. Now, what type of relationship should a man and a woman be in order to be accountable and responsible for one another? It's what I've been saying all the while. When you look in the book of Genesis, a man and a woman. What did Adam say? Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. I will call her woman because she came from man. And it also say after Adam and Eve had that tumbling fall after disobeying God, it stated that the man knew his wife. What that mean? He and his wife were physically intimate. The man knew his wife. So what position was Adam? And what position was Eve? Adam was the husband. Eve was the wife. God created the man to be the husband, according to the book of Genesis. And he created the woman to be the wife. God did not create the man to just be a boyfriend, a boo to the woman. He did not create the woman to be a girlfriend, a 12 a.m. run, or a what you doing situation woman to the man, or wifey to the man. No, God's original intent was for the man and the woman to be one. Because if you know, Adam said, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, I should call a woman because she came from man. So the man and the woman being together is one unit. So that one unit equates to a couple. Sister Lynn Hill said they should be in a covenant relationship by being married. Amen. So that's right, Sister here. A man and a woman should be in a serious, committed, and covenant relationship. And I always say this, my brothers, and I always say this, my sister, God does not endorse a right relationship between a man and a woman unless they're married. Anything under being married, God does not acknowledge. Now, he does acknowledge a man and a woman getting engaged. Moving towards getting married with a engagement with a married date. God just don't look at a man saying, asking a woman to marry him and don't have no defined date, no definite date. No, when a man asks a woman, and I'm telling you sisters right now, you single sister, if a man asks you to marry him, that man needs to have a date. He needs to have a date. No man should come to a woman, give a ring and say, will you marry me? He should anticipate the woman saying yes. And if that woman says yes, that man should have a projected date in mind. He just don't give no woman, quote unquote, in the Western world a ring and just leave it open. That's why a lot of you sisters, you get bamboozled doing that because you get so wrapped up in the ring and you don't have no plan, because eventually someone give you a ring, the natural thing is win. And there are a lot of you sisters, you can't answer the question. I have talked to some women that have gotten an engagement ring and they got the engagement ring, and it been 5+ years, and he still haven't married her. If a man give a woman a ring, this should be done with the quickness in mind. If a man give a woman a ring, it doesn't take no whole year to get married. Unless you're trying to get one of those big fancy weddings, whereas you have people talking. And a lot of time, let me tell you this, my brother and sister, a lot of time when men and women get married, they spend all that money on that one day, and they get a divorce in a short period of time. Whereas some people, they can go to the courthouse, go somewhere, have a small ceremony, and they be married for 20+ years. You see, it's nothing wrong with a big nice wedding, a ceremony, nothing wrong with it. But are you doing it for show? Are you doing it for you? Are you doing it so people can say, look at them? Are you putting yourself in debt for people to say, look at them? Now, that's a whole nother topic. But let me get back to a couple should be accountable and responsible to each other when. A man and a woman is accountable. And what is accountable? Responsible for having to explain your action. So, brother, if you're not married to that woman, she's not accountable to you. She doesn't start being accountable until you get engaged to her. With a wedding date. Sister, that man is not accountable to you unless you and him are engaged, moving towards getting married. Or you can bypass the engagement and go ahead and get married. You don't have to be engaged, my brother and sister, to get married. You do not have to do it. You could just go ahead, make a decision, and get married. And a lot of people would say, well, I need to learn more about him or her. And how many years? That be some people, they start calling themselves wifey and hubby. They move together, get stuff together, and be together for a whole lot of years and still ain't married. And the only people that recognize that you're married are probably some of your family members, some of your friends, your co-workers, social media. But before God, you're not married. God is not going to endorse until you say, I do, before him. That's when a man and a woman become accountable to one another. That's why a lot of relationships mess up right now, because the man, just because he said, I'm serious and I'm committed to the woman, and the woman say, I'm serious, committed to him. No, you're not. You're fooling yourselves. You don't have no relationship. You have a lust for ship. That's what you have. You have a lust for ship. You don't have no 100% relationship because you're not doing it the way God will prefer it being done. So that's why a lot of men and women, they get into some friction if the woman find out that the man's seeing another woman, what she say on the side, or a man find out that the woman dating other men that she called her friend. And the man get all worked up, the woman get all worked up. But the thing about it, you're not accountable to that man or woman if you're not engaged, moving towards getting married with a date, or you're married. You're not accountable. So, my brother says, you need to get to the point where you see that you're not accountable. Brother, if you really serious about that woman, you going to let that woman know straight up that you're ready for a commitment and you're ready to get married. And sister, if you're really serious about that man, you need to let that man know, I'm serious. I want to be committed because I want to be a wife. I don't want no one that's just stringing me along. Now, if the man and the woman is serious, committed, and move towards the covenant relationship, that's when the responsibility part kicks in. So what does the word responsible mean? It is defined as having an obligation to do something or having control or care for someone as part of one's job or role. So, brother and sister, you're not responsible for one another or the relationship. You're not obligated unless you are married. And if you're married, you are accountable. That's when the responsibility kick in. Now, let me tell you this. Brothers, you're not responsible to pay a woman's bills. You're not responsible to pay her bills. You're not married to her. And sister, you're not responsible to have physical relationship with the man. You're not responsible for that. You're not his wife. You don't owe him no physical intimacy, and you're not married to him. And brother, you don't owe her to pay her bills and stuff when you're not married to her. You're not responsible. That's what a whole lot of you are. Not all of you, but a lot of you Christian brothers and sisters, some of my Christian brothers and sisters, you got some things confused. And that's why you have conflicts. And when you have conflicts, that's when you want to come talk to me. You want me to help you in your relationship. The only thing when people come to me want to know about a relationship, the first thing I want to know when I do this relationship count, the first thing I want to know is, does he or she believe in God? Okay, you believe in God. Do you both believe in the same God? Do you believe in God the Father, Son, and Jesus? Do you believe in the same Jesus? Do you both understand that Jesus wants to be a part of your relationship? Do you understand that you are representing the Lord and his church? Because you are an example of the Lord's church and his relationship to the church. You are someone calling me. They know they shouldn't be calling me doing while we're serving dinner. But anyway, my brother and sister, the thing about it is this. Brother, when you marry a woman, as it is written in the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 5:8. Again, it's 1 Timothy, chapter 5:8. Anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household, has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Brothers, when you marry a woman, you are to lead your woman and your family. You are to provide and protect your family. The only person that comes before your family, meaning your wife, is Jesus himself. After your wife, brother, is your children, your parents, your sibling, and all other relationships and things after that. Sister, when you get married to a man, your responsibility is to follow the man and submit to him. Speaking of submit, brother, I need to say this. In order for a woman to submit to you, you need to submit to Christ. Now back to the woman. Sister, you're supposed to submit to the man as being the head of the relationship. As it is written, God is the head of Christ. Christ is the head of man. And man is the head of the woman. That meaning a man that's married to a woman. Every woman is not up on the submission to men or man. She's only up on the submission of a man after her father when she marries a man. A woman does not have to submit to a man that's not her husband. Period. So, sister, do not let a man throw in your face, you need to submit to me, unless he is your husband. And Brother, you shouldn't have to tell a woman that you're supposed to submit to me. If she is a godly woman, she already knows, because she's going to submit to Christ first, directly and indirectly. She's going to submit to you because you submit to Christ. Now, the woman role after she submit to you is to make sure that the home, she guides the home. You lead the home, brother. The woman guides the home. Elderly women supposed to teach the younger women, according to God's word, to love her husband and how to run the home. That's order. And so, sister, you are accountable to the Lord first, and then you're accountable to your husband. You're not accountable to no other man, your boss, or no other man before your husband. Yes, you got a job, but your husband come before your boss. And by the way, brother, your wife come before your mama. And anybody else, nobody come before your wife, brother, but Jesus. Sister, no one comes before your husband but Jesus. No human comes before your husband or wife, brothers and sisters. No human. No nothing come before. That's why how a whole lot of married people, married Christian brothers and sisters, you get that confused. Some of you sisters, you think that your children come before your husband. They don't. Your husband come before your children. Sister Tammy said, I have heard from a lot of older Christians say you don't need to have the government to say you are married, because God is the only person you need for marriage, no government. Sister Tammy, let me tell you something about a lot of these older people. They got a point. However, the Bible also tells you that you're supposed to go by the law of the land. As long as the law of the land does not push God's will be beyond the law. You see, the government, like most of us stay in the United States. Most states require for you to get a marriage license. So, brothers and sisters, God has no problem with the government saying that you need a license. He doesn't have no problem with that because you're going by the law of the land. However, God wants you, the man and woman, to be married. When is a man and woman actually married? Some would say. Thank you, Sister Lynn. A man and woman is actually married when they have physical intimacy. Do you not realize that, my brothers and sisters? So a lot of you brothers and sisters right now, some of you brothers got a whole lot of wives out there. But you're not married, quote unquote, married to them. Some of you sisters got a whole lot of husbands out there, but you're not married to them. Because you had physical intimacy with it. Don't you know, my brother and sister, Paul addressed this. Whenever, and I'm going to paraphrase this, whenever you sleep with someone, my brother and sister, because you got to understand, you brother and sister in Christ, you are the temple of God. So because Paul made a statement, if I lie down with a harlot is a prostitute. I become one with that prostitute. So in God's eye, my brother and sister, when you have physical intimacy with someone, that's actually your husband and wife. But to get it right, when you in Christ, Christ will wash all that stuff away, all the error that you made in the past. So my brother and sister, when you actually decide to get married the right way, those people that you had physical intimacy with, the Lord had washed all that away with his blood. Listen to me. Everything that you did before the Lord washed you in his blood is valid until the Lord wash you in his blood. So if you have slept with men and women, brother, sister, if you have slept with men and men before you came into Christ, and some of you brother and sister right now, you still sleeping with other people, and you still sleeping with a whole bunch of people, and you are not married, but you're still doing wrong. And I have touched on that before. Sister Tammy said, that's right. I believe the same way you need a marriage certificate or license. Thank you. How you doing, Sister Ash? Sister Ash said, how long would you say it take for a man to approach you after meeting? A guy I'm interested in, like playing cat and mouse, and I'm tired of it. You know what, Sister Ashley? You asked a good question. And let me tell you something. That young, based on what you just asked me, that guy, he's not serious about you. He's not ready to commit to you. And he don't see you as a wife. Because let me tell you this, sister, you could be wife ready, but that's the wrong man. God is giving you a red flag, Sister Ash. God is actually giving you a red flag. Based on you saying that man playing cat and mouse, because a Christian man that is following the Lord and he's trying to make the Lord, he delight in the Lord, and he has a desire for a woman. Let me tell you, sister, this. I have said it before, I'm going to say it again. We men, read my lips. We men, we know within a short period of time whether we see you as a wife or not. No matter, I know a lot of men, they're gonna say that's not right. The men that disagree with me, let me tell you, the men that disagree with me, they are players. Those are the sons of Satan that would say, no, you don't know. Yes, you do know. Because if it's a man of God, the man of God, he has what is called wisdom. He has what is called knowledge. He has what is called understanding, and he has discernment. So when a man approach a woman, a real godly man, for example, and I always use this, look at the story of Boaz and Ruth. Read the story about Ruth. It did not take Boaz, and that's an example, sister. That is a classic example where a man knows that he knows that he knows. Because when God brought Ruth and placed her in the sight of Boaz, what did the Bible say? A man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain favor from the Lord. So Boaz had already obtained favor from the Lord prior to meeting Ruth. So Ruth was positioned based on what happened into her life to be placed in front of Boaz. She happened to end up on Boaz's property working for Boaz. Boaz had other women working on his property. But when Ruth came, Ruth stood out. You know why Ruth stood out? Because she had the Lord in her life. And when she had the Lord in her life, Boaz had the wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and discernment to know that Ruth was the one. Because when Boaz came to his property that one day, the farmer that was working over Ruth, because Ruth was a gleaner. And there was some more women out there gleaming. When Boaz seen Ruth, Boaz was instantly interested in Ruth. He was not interested in Ruth to have physical intimacy with her. He wanted to know her intimately, but not about physical intimacy. God led, when Boaz came out that day, he was not looking for a wife. When Ruth was working that day, she was not looking for a husband. She probably had a desire for a husband. Boaz probably had a desire for a wife, but God orchestrated it for that particular time. And when Boaz seen Ruth, he asked the man that was over Ruth, he said, do you know, tell me about that woman. And he gave Boaz a brief rundown of Ruth. Excuse me. And when the farmer gave Boaz a brief rundown of Ruth, Boaz started immediately thinking, provide for her. And you know how Boaz provided for her? He told his farmer to make sure she gets some extra stuff. That's providing. He already think about providing for Ruth. Secondly, Boaz started thinking about protection. He said, make sure nobody don't bother her. So Boaz already thinking about providing and protecting. Not only that, Boaz wanted to start learning more about Ruth. How was he going to learn more about Ruth? He had to spend quality time with Ruth. So Boaz let Ruth know that he wanted her to have dinner with him. Ruth went to Naomi, her mother-in-law, because Ruth was once married, but her husband was dead. So Ruth went and talked to Naomi, her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law knew about Boaz. Her mother-in-law, following the Lord, she told Ruth what she needed to do. So Ruth went to a godly woman, and that godly woman told Ruth what to do. So Boaz and Ruth, they talked, and Boaz, in a short period of time, he decided she wife material. Boaz seen in Ruth she's wife material. Boaz did not have to wait 6 months. He did not have to wait a year, 5 years, and all that. No, Boaz went to action. There was a thing called the kinsman law. He had to go get that settled with this particular man because he actually had the right to Ruth. But that man told Boaz, no, you can marry her. So when Boaz got the green light to marry Ruth, he did not hide the fact. Boaz let the whole place knew that he was going to marry Ruth. And it happened. So Boaz, he knew that he had to be accountable. Ruth knew that she had to be accountable. Boaz knew when he married Ruth, he was going to be responsible for his role as a husband. When Ruth married Boaz, she knew that she was going to have to be responsible for her role as a wife. So when did Boaz become accountable to Ruth and responsible to Ruth? When did Ruth become accountable and responsible to Boaz? When they got married. And it was a short period of time. As it is written in the book of Proverbs 18:22, Proverbs 18:22, Proverbs 18:22, it is written, he who finds a wife finds what is good and receive favor from the Lord. So, brother, if you happen to meet a good, godly woman, she is directly from the Lord. And you know, brother, when you get a good woman is a gift from the Lord because you receive favor from the Lord. That's how you got a good woman. Now, a lot of men marry women, but a lot of men that marry women, that doesn't mean they come from God. God only gives a godly man a godly woman. Sister Ashley said he keeps coming around, but when I asked him, was he married? He said no. Then I asked him if he had a girlfriend, and he said no, and he doesn't want one because he has too many kids and too much drama. So by the man saying he have too many kids and too much drama, he's not ready, Sister Ashley, for a wife. This man is full of excuses. Let me tell you this, Sister Ashley. What you mentioning about this guy, this coming out a man playbook. This man believe in the philosophy, why buy the cow when you could get the milk free? You see, this man that you're talking about, and I haven't heard his side of the story, but based on what you're saying, this man, he sees you as someone that he can extract things from. He look at you, because When a man look at a woman, not only does he look at a woman as whether she's a wife or not, he also look at a woman whether she's going to be an asset or a liability. And let me tell you this, all you sisters out there, I must tell you the truth. And I'm being generous, and I have said it before. I'm going to use the number 10. Out of 10 men, and I'm being generous, out of 10 men, 7 or 8 of them really don't want no serious committed and covenant relationship. They could be 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. They don't want the serious. They don't want the committed. They don't want the covenant. That's the main thing. They may say they're serious. They may say they're committed, but they don't want the commitment. They will say, we don't need a paper to say we married. You see, now what they're doing, they are defying God's law, because God wants us to go by the law of the land as long as it doesn't contradict his word. God really wants us to go by what the government say as long as it doesn't contradict his word. And in the United States of America, in majority of the states, most states require for you to have that marriage license. You understand? God is the one that have that in the Bible, in the New Testament. You all got to check it out. God actually wants us to go by the law of the land unless it violates his word. Now, if a man say, it's just nothing but a piece of paper, yes, it's a piece of paper. I tell you what, if a man tell a woman it's just a piece of paper, before a man can live in a house, his house, or an apartment, a condo, whatever, even if he purchased a car, guess what he got to do? He got to sign a document. So you think a man just going to actually get a house without signing some documentation if he says he is, unless he getting it illegally? If a man get a car, he got to sign some type of documentation. He ain't got no problem signing no documentation to get a car. He ain't got no problem signing a documentation to purchase a home. So why is it he got a problem? Why he can't just move in the house and say, I don't need to sign no paper to get this house. Why I could just get the car. I don't need no documentation to drive this car around. Let him get a car and drive it around and see what happened. The police, he's gonna see those blue lights behind him. The police gonna pull him over and gonna want to say, let me see your insurance. A lot of times they don't have to do that now. They could just look on the computer. I want to see your insurance. He got to have insurance. That's documentation. He got to sign for that car insurance. You see, a lot of you sisters, you let these guys get away with stuff. You let these guys use you till they can't use you no more. And then on the flip side of it, guys, let me tell you the guy, you are not obligated to pay a woman's bills. You're not. You're not obligated to get her nails done, her hair done, pay her car note, her house note, phone her girl trip. You're not obligated to do that. She's not your wife. She could be get all that done for Rico. The car that you paying for, Rico could be driving that car. The home that you paying the mortgage on, or the condo or whatever, Rico may be going in there, because she could come back and say, we ain't married. You buy her a house and stuff, and you put her name on it, you buy it. And then she get teed off on you. And Rico over there, she going to call the popo on you, or the police per se, and let the police know, yeah, we're not married, this my house. And then show the police the deed on the house. But you say you paid for it. Yeah, you probably paid for it, but her name is on the house. The police gonna tell you to get the skipping, skipper. Sister Ashley, I agree. He's not ready for a commitment, and I am. Want the cake and eat it too, but I won't be the one serving it to her. It's rough out there, dating. It sure is rough out there, Sister Ashley Lou. It is rough out there. It is rough. I'm going to tell you, brother and sister, this right now. If you are currently in a relationship with a good man or a good woman, not a flawless man, not a flawless woman, because the person that you're with going to make some errors, going to fall on his or her face. You're not going to get a perfect man. You're not going to get a perfect woman, but you can get the right man and the right woman if you allow God to handpick that man or that woman. It can happen. You brother and sister that desire to be in a relationship right now, go to God. Don't go to your mom and your daddy, your girlfriend, your guy friends, and all this other stuff. Go to God first. Don't go to God last. Go to God first. And let God handpick the woman or the man. Like this. You brother and sister that at the dinner table now, that young lady right there, that's Tequesta, that's my wife. But I call her Cinderella because the shoe fit. When I met her, before I met her, and a lot of you have heard it before, you're going to hear it again at the dinner table. Before I met her, I was a serial dater. But I never told these women what I was actually looking for. Casper on that said, as long as that prenup is signed first, I don't mind signing that marriage document. Okay, that's another story right there, brother Casper. But let me tell you, my brother and sister, before I met her, I prayed to God. I was dating other women, but I did not tell other women exactly what I was looking for, because that's a dangerous thing, my brother and sister. You could tell a man or a woman what you're looking for, but you ain't got to tell them everything. Because if you tell the wrong man or the wrong woman exactly what you're looking for, guess what? Since it's Halloween time, they can masquerade like that person that you're looking for. They can. You know what called an evil man or evil woman that come from Satan. And the Bible says that Satan transformed himself or masquerade himself into an angel of light. It look right, but it ain't right. It come in a pretty bow tie and everything, but it ain't right. And that's how some men and women are. So let me tell you this. When I prayed to God, when I finally decided everything that I'm doing is not working. So I prayed to God. And when I prayed to God, I'm going to paraphrase that. I prayed to God. I said, God, I would like a wife to follow me as I follow Christ. And I wanted God to answer my prayer just like that, but he did not. From that prayer, my brother and sister, it took 5 years. It took 5 years. So I'm dating, about to settle. But then God was holding me back. But I did not tell those women what I had prayed for. So when I met my wife, I met her like it was like the tail part of August some years ago. And we got married on October the 9th, her birthday, which was less than 2 months. When I actually met her, the Spirit of the Lord was in me, and the Spirit of the Lord let me know she was the one. I told my wife, I said, and I wasn't playing around. I said, I looked her in the eye and said, I'm going to marry you. And she started smiling. I said, I'm going to marry you. I didn't ask her to marry me. We didn't know each other that well. So I asked her, I said, I'm going to marry you. And she said, you are. And I said, just like this. I say, look at it like this. It's a swimming pool. I said, the water is cold. I'm willing to jump out there in the deep. I said, I'm willing to jump out there in the deep because I'm going to get wet anyway. And the water is cold anyway, but I'm ready to jump out in the deep. And I said, but if you want to ease into the water, just ease into the water and come on out there to me. So from the tail part of August some years ago to October the 9th, because She called me, my brother and sister. Remember the prayer that I had told you all? I had prayed to God. I said, God, I want a wife to follow me as I follow Christ. So like 2 weeks after I had met her, my brothers and sisters, 2 weeks, she called me and she said, Tony, what you doing? I said, I'm just chilling. And she said, you know what? I said, what? She said, I want to follow you. No woman, my brothers, no woman, my sister, ever told me that they want to follow me. I never told my wife the prayer that I told God. I never told. But she called me when she said, I want to follow you. That was validation or confirmation, whatever you want to call it, that God answered my prayer. And when God answered my prayer, coming up to her birthday, I called her like 2 weeks before her birthday. And I said, what you doing on your birthday? And she said, I don't have no plans. I said, okay, plan this. You and I'm going to get married on your birthday. What you say about that? And she said, yeah, we could do that. And it was just like that, my brother and sister. It was just like that, less than 2 months. And you see, some people say, well, you didn't know her that well. That's what some people would say, but we didn't even listen to people. Or somebody probably told her that we didn't listen to people. You know what? Whoever you meet, my brother and sister, you're not going to know that person completely anyway. The only thing you need to know is whether that man or woman has a relationship with Christ and whether you have some things in common, like forms, F-O-R-M-S, forms. Remember that, F-O-R-M-S, F-O-R-M-S. F stands for, or do you have some of the similar views of family? O mean occupation. You got to work on that relationship. R mean relationship, money. Relationship. Do you have a relationship with Christ, or are we going to have a good relationship? M, money. What you do about money. Because believe it or not, my brother and sister, money is one of the major things why relationship fail. Some people think it's infidelity or adultery. It's not. It's a lot of it is about money. And then after the money, sex. You need to discuss sex. Sex should not be no taboo, my brothers and sisters. You need to discuss that. You need to discuss those things. You don't wait till you get married to discuss those important things of life. You need to have that. You need to have that mature conversation. And let me tell you this: you will never know your mate 100%. But you're supposed to be transparent, and as time go on, you're gonna learn more and more and more about that man and woman. And guess what? The more you learn, the more you're gonna have to learn, because the day you met that person is gonna change. Because that person is getting older. You are getting older, so your thoughts on life is gonna change. So when you marry someone, my brother and sister, you marry the person, and whatever you did at the beginning to get a relationship, you got to build on it. You don't get into a relationship and then pull back. It's just like you take, brother, it's just like you take a woman to Ruth Chris, and then she's accustomed to going to Ruth Chris. Why would you take a woman to Ruth Chris and then turn around when you get married and start talking about, let's just go to Burger King? They don't want that. However you start, you got to build on it. When you build a house, you got to have a foundation. You got to have a solid foundation. Ashford and Simpson said, solid as a rock. I advise you, brother and sister, to go listen to Ashford and Simpson song called Solid Rock. Listen to the lyrics. I hope, my brother and sister, I gave you some good information tonight at the dinner table. Being accountable and responsible. You need God as the foundation of the relationship. You need to delight in the Lord. Make sure your relationship with the Lord is solid. Ask the Lord to handpick that man or that woman. Let God orchestrate it. Don't go desperate out there for someone. Be patient, and the Lord will do it. Like I told you, my brother and sister, when I prayed to the Lord, I wanted it to happen like that. It didn't happen like that. It took 5 years. So you have to be patient and keep praying and praying and praying. And one day, and I always use an illustration like this, brother, one day you may say, I need to go to the grocery store to get some bread. I'm running out of bread. And then, sister, you may be at your house and you look in the refrigerator and say, oh, I need some ice cream. So you going, sister, to look for some ice cream at the store, and brother, you going to the store looking for some bread. You get this particular store, you ain't even thinking about. That's right, Sister Tammy. You're not even thinking about no mate at that time. You thinking, brother, about getting some bread, and sister, you thinking about some ice cream, and you all meet, and there it is. Or it's like you need some gas in the car. You say, dog, I need to stop and put some gas in my car. You stop there, you just think about putting some gas in your car, brother and sister, and you meet. It can happen anytime, anywhere. God can do it. Look where Ruth and Boaz met at, in the field. They met in a field. Boaz wasn't thinking about no wife at the time. Boaz was thinking about going to check out how his business going. Ruth was there thinking about, I need to make some of this money to take care of my mother-in-law and me. And God made it happen. Again, Proverbs 18:22. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and receives favor from the Lord. That particular scripture is only for Christian men and Christian women. It's not for the world. God only gives a woman one of his daughters to one of his sons. God does not give his daughter to a worldly man. God does not cause his son to marry a wicked woman. That's by choice. That's why, brothers and sisters, don't be unequally yoked with somebody that's not following Christ. Thank you so much, my brothers and sisters, for coming to the dinner table. I hope I imparted something positive to you that you could take with you. By the way, I'm about to clean up the kitchen. You could get one of these carry-out plates and you could put it in the refrigerator and rewarm it again and share with some more people, some more family and friends, and let them know that they could come to the dinner table when dinner is served. If you have any questions or comments, you could go ahead and say wait. And if you put wait, I'll wait for your question or comment. If you don't put wait, it's about time for me to pour it from you. I love you, brothers. I love you, sisters. Remember this. Believe this. C'est la vie. Peace out. You all have a good night, my brothers and sisters. And Sister Tammy said, I'm waiting and praying. Keep waiting and praying, sister. Keep waiting and praying. God will answer. All you have to do, sisters and brothers, delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Peace out.